had a lot of honors in his life, but it seems like he was inspired at an early age by painters such as like John Singer Sargent, who's the American portraitist. How did that kind of come about, and what is the connection there?
Ken was always wanting to paint people, and when he would go to the museums when he was young, he was very drawn to the old masters' technique. Couldn't get enough of Rembrandt and Rubens, and then he discovered Singer Sargent, and he was just really drawn to the way that he handled light. And he recognized that he was in that same sort of, you know, the way they did things. And so he said, I'd love to be able to paint like him.
And Ken was also a sculptor. We have some magnificent works in here. And so, I mean, he's maybe thought of more as a two-dimensional artist, but it seems like his sculpture is magnificent too. How did that kind of come about?
In the 80s, he decided that he wanted to try sculpting, and he just fell right into it. And it became very easy for him. I watched him do the life-size bust of Sergeant Major Bill, which is here at the exhibition. And he worked in a really tiny little studio. I mean, imagine this size with everything in it. And he had this great big clump of clay, and I swear it was only 7 days he had the entire thing built in clay. I just couldn't believe how quickly he could do it. The longer process was getting it over to the bronze people and getting it casted and all of that. And he also really enjoyed doing the patina himself, so he would go over to the foundry and direct exactly how he wanted the patina done. So he did several Native Americans, and he did something called Aces Up, which is from the same era of people as the Hash Knife, and a painting called Waiting for the Fargo, which getting back to, he was very interested in generally the history of how the West opened, and he felt he needed to help preserve all of that.
And then Wells Fargo actually became, they didn't start out as a mail courier, but I believe they bought out, or somehow they came into that service.
Into that whole service, yeah.
Which the Pony Express was pretty much doing on their own to start with.
Yeah. He was very excited about being involved in all of this. If you could have only met him, it was like his feet were 6 inches off the floor all the time. He was just a really happy person.
What were some of the challenges that he had growing up? Were there challenges for him growing up, and did that maybe carry over to his appreciation of different groups and even minority groups that settled in the West?
It's a very good question. Ken grew up as a poor boy, and so he would have experienced a lot of just not having money. And I'll just divert for a minute to say one of the things that was a challenge for him, he wanted to be an artist, and he didn't have the money for paints, and he didn't have the money for supplies, and so every little bit of work he picked up, he saved and saved until he could buy paint. I mean, he didn't go out and buy candy and other things. The only thing that mattered to Ken was to be able to paint and to do art. He's very, he did some beautiful rabbinical work, which is not here at this exhibition.
But it's in the catalog.
But it is in the catalog, yes. Ken was very good at overcoming some of his challenges.
Absolutely.
When he was really young, I'm going to say 6 to 8 years old, his mother recognized that he had a special gift. She knew that he had artistic ability and that it was very special. So she got him to classes. And that was a challenge for her because obviously she had to pay for something extra. And so he very much appreciated going to those classes. And then she would do every Saturday. He would go to a class and study with a gentleman called Joseph desolate. And he was a portrait painter, classically trained, and Ken got a taste of this classical techniques. And he knew even then that that's the way he was going to paint. So then he would spend the rest of the afternoon in the movie theater and watch cowboy movies again and again and again. And one day he came home and he said to his mother, I'm taking over the living room. So he told me this story. He said, I just whipped everything off that table and this is my studio. And that's where he painted till he left home.
And they allowed him to do it.
And they allowed him to do it. Well, I don't know how pleased his father was, but his mother, she allowed him to do it because she knew that she had a special boy here. And he was very competitive. So all through high school, he knew that he was going to make it as an artist. He just knew it, and he was going to do whatever it took. He competed for scholarships. It's a 5-state competition. He would do paintings and posters, and he ended up winning a scholarship every summer while he was in high school to attend any art school he wanted to. And because he wanted classical training, he decided he was going to go to the American Academy of Art in Chicago.
Great.
And of course, he was one of the youngest students when he started.
Wow.
But he graduated from the academy a year after he graduated high school.
Wow.
He was very
Great. That's
dedicated. He just didn't do anything else, but
He had passion
hey,
for it.
he had an incredible passion for it.
Here at the Booth Museum, one of our close markets, of course, is Atlanta, and we're basically kind of in the Atlanta area. And so there's the connection between Coca-Cola that's very strong. And there's a famous illustrator, Haddon Sundblom, who was actually the creator and the illustrator of the Big Jolly Santa that you see on a lot of Coca-Cola ads. And what was the relationship between this illustrator and Ken, and how did that maybe affect his work?
Ken knew about Haddon Sundblom, and after Ken graduated from the Academy of Art, he went into doing illustration full-time. So in that period of transition in there, he did an apprenticeship with Haddon Sundblom. He decided he was going to do that a few years before he did it, and he just worked his way to become recognized by Haddon as a possible protege. And so he worked with Haddon, and he got to finish a lot of those Santa Clauses drinking Coca-Colas.
Okay. Of course, one of the quotes that I found moving and that inspires you too of Ken's is "live your dream." He really considered himself a cowboy.
He moved to Scottsdale because he wanted to paint cowboys and become a cowboy. He knew that he would also be able to paint, really paint the West and the spirit of the West.
Painting from experience.
Painting from experience, exactly. You have the passion, all of that, but you've also got to have the knowledge. You've got to have that. You've got to live the lifestyle to know it. So when he came out with the intention of trying to live the lifestyle, he fell in love with it, and everyone fell in love with him. So he went on cattle drives, he rode, he drove the cattle down, he went to powwows and rodeos, and the Parada del Sol rodeo was a very famous rodeo. He did the painting for them several times, and he just hung around in the back part where nobody sees anything. He was there with the rodeo cowboys, and he saw their passion, and he understood it. He saw the passion of the mountain men. He understood how they all felt because he felt the same way about what he was doing. Ken really accomplished both of his dreams. As you said, he was a great artist and a wonderful cowboy. And he belonged to an organization called the Western Artists of America.
Right.
It's a very elite group. They only have 24 members. You're invited to the membership, and that's all they have in it. And they have given Ken a wonderful honor. It will be presented here at the opening of this exhibition, a Lifetime Achievement Award. And something else that's really special about this award, from now on it will be called the Kenneth M. Freeman Legacy Award. So this is not just an honor, but a legacy.